So if your partner is wanting an open relationship and you have no idea what to do, right? Here is how you're going to handle it. Here's the first thing. The question that I ask my clients who find themselves in this predicament is, do you even want to be in an open relationship? Now, I know that might seem like an easy and obvious question, but believe me when I tell you, it's not. If you've been in a relationship with your partner for 8 years and one day they come to you and they say, "Hey babe, I've really been thinking about things and I'd like to try to spice things up in our relationship a little bit more by opening it up." What are you supposed to say to that, right? For some, the answer would be leave his ass, right? And I understand why that would be the trigger response, but it's a little more layered than that. You built a life with this person. Your dreams, your aspirations were built on the idea of it just being the two of you, right? And it just doesn't align with your core values. You're not sure if you are enough for them anymore. And the list goes on and on and on and on. So when I ask the question, do you want to be in an open relationship? I recognize that there may be a million things that are running through your head right now. So if you have ever experienced your partner asking you this question, then you know exactly what it is I am talking about. In fact, even if you are someone who is open to the idea, there may still be some underlying insecurities because you don't know what to expect. That's why I wanted to break this up into two parts, right? So first part is going to be, yes, I want to be in an open relationship. I just don't know how to navigate it. And the second one is no, hell no. I do not want to be in an open relationship. It goes against my values. Absolutely not. But before we jump in, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Danny, and I wanted to thank you for tuning in to the Deep Penetration podcast and for listening in on this episode. I am a love and self-esteem coach that works with gay and bisexual men, and I help with dating, relationships, attraction, self-esteem building, self-confidence building, and all that good stuff. And if you want to learn more about me and what it is that I do, I will leave all the links for my website, my Stan store, the free gift that I have for you, which is the 7 things that you need to find and thrive in love as a gay or bisexual man, and all my social media platforms. I will leave it all in the description of this episode. The only thing that I ask is that you subscribe and that you share the episode with the people you know. All right, so let us get into it and not waste any more time. So if you answered yes, right, you just don't know how to handle it, here are some steps you can take that will be helpful in navigating the conversation as well as the structure of the relationship moving forward, right? So the first one is self-reflection and understanding. It is so important that you take time to reflect on your own feelings, your desires and concerns about opening up the relationship. Remember, this is not just about fulfilling your partner's needs and desires. You have to consider what you are comfortable with, what boundaries you need to establish, and any fears or insecurities you may have. Understanding your own needs and your personal boundaries is going to be crucial before even engaging in the discussion with your partner. The second thing here is open and honest communication. Have a candid, non-judgmental conversation with your partner about their desires for an open relationship and your own thoughts and feelings on it. It's important to express your willingness to explore these options together while also making sure that you are sharing any apprehensions that you may have or any uncertainties that you may have. Because in my experience, your partner's willingness to validate your concerns and respect your process is a good indication of how you will be able to navigate an open relationship, right? Encourage your partner to openly communicate their reasons for wanting an open relationship and listen to their perspective. If you discover there are underlying issues or problems that are not resolved, I would highly recommend resolving them before you open the relationship. One of the biggest mistakes that I see couples make is they'll want to open the relationship because they feel that something is lacking in the relationship. Maybe you don't have good communication. Maybe the intimacy is not as good as it used to be. Maybe there is a disconnect when it comes to the emotional connection between the two of you. And oftentimes people think that by opening the relationship, it will help to reattract the two of you to one another. Is it possible that that could happen? Sure. It's happened before, but it's not the standard, right? Let's put it that way. What I have come to find over the years is that couples who open their relationship because their relationship is struggling usually end up breaking up because it adds much more complexity to the dynamic of the relationship. You know, involving other people in your relationship when you do not have a solid foundation in trust, in communication, in respect, empathy, compassion, it's usually a recipe for disaster. So I just want you to keep that in mind. The third thing here is boundaries, right? I want you to discuss and establish very clear boundaries and guidelines for the open relationship. What do I mean by that? Define what types of relationships or interactions are acceptable outside of the primary partnership, right? How much you're going to communicate about those experiences or those connections or whatever you want to call it. And make sure that you are discussing any sexual health protocols that are needed in order for you and your partner to feel comfortable doing this. Be honest about your own boundaries and needs. And I would highly recommend, what's the right word here? Collaborate, right? Collaborate with your partner to create a mutually agreed upon set of rules and guidelines that the two of you guys are going to follow. I cannot express how important this is. It's incredibly important. The guidelines and the rules at the very beginning of opening the relationship is going to be what you guys fall back on in order to have direction and a roadmap. Right? Because if not, you guys are going to be completely lost. You're going to start to have trust issues. There's going to be confusion in regards to what's accepted, what's not accepted, all of those things. The fourth thing is regular check-ins and reevaluations, right? So commit to regular check-ins with your partner to discuss how the open relationship is progressing and whether there's anything that needs to be adjusted in regards to the boundaries or the rules that were set before. Set aside some dedicated time, I would say every week or every month, depending on what you guys are most comfortable with, to communicate openly and honestly about concerns, insecurities, any negative feelings that come up. It's also important that you communicate any positives that come up with your partner as well. I think we are so conditioned to only talk when there's something wrong that I feel like we need to start having these open and candid conversations with our partner, even when things are going well, right? If things are going well, I think we forget to dedicate the time to having that conversation with our partner. But I think that also contributes to the relationship in a positive way. Reevaluate the arrangement that you guys have periodically, just to make sure that it continues to meet your needs and your partner's needs at the same time. An open relationship is something that I like to call a contract, right? It's a contract that you are writing up with your partner. And I know that seems really like serious and really intense, but the reason why I like to say that is because contracts are renegotiable. So at any point, if you are feeling uncomfortable, if at any point you no longer want to be in an open relationship, if at any point you start to have doubts about the situation, you can always renegotiate the contract. It's just important that you are able to communicate that with your partner. The fifth thing here is, seek support or guidance. Consider seeking support from a therapist, a counselor, a relationship coach, such as myself, who specializes in open relationships or LGBTQ plus issues. Now, I want to clarify here. It's not that I specialize in open relationships, right? Because I work with men on a broad range of topics. It just so happens that open relationships is one of the ones that comes up most frequently in the questions that are asked on social media, in my one-on-one coaching sessions, via email. So I'm very well versed and educated on how to navigate open relationships. Now, I myself am more of a monogamous individual. I've always been in monogamous relationships, but that is because I choose to be in a monogamous relationship. That is not to say that at some point down the line, I might not be open to an open relationship, right? I think it's really, what's the right word here? I think it's a little closed-minded to tell yourself, I would never do that. If there's one thing that I've learned in my life is to never say never, right? But as of right now, where I stand in my relationship at 36 years old in my life, I'm somebody who chooses to be in a monogamous relationship, but that does not mean that I have not helped couples through being able to navigate open relationships. For me, I think having that support, reaching out to somebody who has the knowledge or the understanding can provide a lot of value in this kind of situation and help to facilitate certain conversations, right? And make sure that they are productive conversations. Offer strategies for navigating certain challenges that might come up while you are navigating an open relationship. And additionally, I think connecting with other individuals or couples who have experienced an open relationship or are currently in an open relationship can provide a lot of value and insight, sometimes much more than a professional support system like a therapist or a counselor or a coach, right? Mirroring couples that are in an open relationship and have made it work will help you along this journey. You know, I firmly believe that. I have worked with countless couples wanting to open their relationship and not knowing where to start. So if you are struggling and you are in this predicament, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to have that conversation with you. All right, so moving on to the no, right? You are the person who said, hell no, I do not want an open relationship. That is not something that I look forward to. That is not something that I want for myself in my life. I want to provide you with some recommendations on how you can handle the situation moving forward. And for most gay and bisexual men, talking is not the issue, right? Communicating effectively is. Many of us grow up having to repress our authentic selves and suppress our voice so as to not inconvenience anyone. So when we become adults, it's hard for us to express our wants and our needs. And it can be particularly hard to navigate conflict, to break up with a partner or to turn down somebody for this kind of fear of hurting their feelings. But at the end of the day, the issue is not always what you say, it's how you say it. And this will be broken down essentially into two ways, right? So recommendations for the partner who wants an open relationship and recommendations for the partner who does not want an open relationship. So if you are the partner who is interested in opening the relationship, the first thing that you're going to have to take into consideration is expressing your feelings honestly. Start by openly sharing your desire for an open relationship with your partner. Be honest about your reasons for wanting to have this kind of arrangement, right? And how you believe that it could benefit the both of you in the relationship. Express your feelings. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Make sure you are expressing your feelings in a way that is not creating pressure or coercing your partner into agreeing with you. There cannot be any level of manipulation in this conversation. The only way an open relationship will work is if you have two consenting adults. Do not manipulate your partner into an open relationship, because at the end of the day, that is never okay. The second thing is listen with empathy. After expressing your feelings, listen to your partner's perspective and concerns, right? acknowledge their feelings and validate their need for monogamy if they are not wanting to have an open relationship, right? Validating them even if it differs from your own personal desires is going to be really, really important. Just because you two have grown to want different things does not give you permission to be disrespectful, to invalidate, or to discredit your partner's values. Practice empathy and understand that acknowledging their level of comfort in comparison to your level of comfort is crucial if you want to be able to have an effective conversation, right? A productive conversation. The third thing here is you're going to want to explore compromises and alternatives, right? So if and only if your partner agrees to hear your points, discuss potential compromises or alternatives that could address both you and your partner's needs and concerns, right? And this could include exploring non-monogamous options that allow for different degrees of openness, right? So there are different, and again, if this is your first time listening about or hearing in and listening about the topic of open relationships and what that means, an open relationship isn't just like, oh, we're opening the relationship and that's it. There are different layers of open relationships. There are different types of open relationships. So when I say make sure that you are exploring the options for varying degrees of openness, there is ethical non-monogamy. There's also polyamory. There is general opening of the relationship where you are having intimacy with another person outside of the relationship, but you and your partner are still the primary relationship. However you decide to set it up, make sure you are having that conversation candidly, but again, only if your partner is willing to have that discussion, be open to negotiating and willing to find solutions that work for the both of you. The fourth thing here is respect your partner's boundaries, right? Respecting your partner's boundaries, even if they ultimately decide that they do not want to open the relationship, is going to be really important. And if they do decide to open the relationship, but they want to make sure that there are very specific guidelines, you're going to have to respect that as well. And as always, and I've said this a million times before, please, please, please make sure that you are not pressuring or manipulating them into agreeing to something that goes against their core values or their comfort level. Remember that consent is essential in any relationship dynamic. Does not matter what kind of relationship, a closed relationship, monogamous, polyamorous, open, consent is incredibly important. The fifth thing here is consider your relationship compatibility, right? So reflect on whether your relationship goals and values align in the long term. If the desire for an open relationship is a fundamental incompatibility that cannot be resolved through compromise, it might be time to sit back and reflect on the relationship itself and decide for yourself whether you guys have grown apart or gone in different directions. There are times in life that our needs change, right? And even when we are in a relationship with somebody, those needs are going to change over a period of time. So if you come to find that the two of you are no longer compatible, that doesn't mean you don't love each other. It just means that your vision of the relationship differs. It's not the same anymore. Don't try to make something work that could potentially damage you or your partner's self-identity in the long run. The other part here is for the partner who is not interested in a relationship and how to navigate that and how to handle that, right? So the first one is you're going to want to communicate your boundaries very clearly. Clearly communicate your discomfort with the idea of an open relationship to your partner. Express your feelings honestly and assertively while avoiding blaming or criticizing them, right? It's not okay to disrespect your partner for expressing what it is they're looking for or their needs. And trust me, I know that it's easier said than done, but this is a really important part if you want to have a productive conversation, an amicable conversation with your partner. The second thing here is listen to your partner's perspective. I know this can be difficult, especially if an open relationship is something that's very much against your core values and not something that you were expecting from that person, but try your best to have an open mind and try to have some empathy and some compassion and listen to what they have to say. Try to understand the reasoning for wanting an open relationship without dismissing or invalidating their feelings. Third thing here is you have to evaluate your own comfort level. Reflect on it and whether you would be willing to explore compromises or alternatives to addressing both you and your partner's needs. Consider those compromises, if any, if you're willing to flex on any of those things. And if you are not willing to flex on those things, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that because you are remaining authentically aligned with your core values. The reason why I say be open to listening to your partner is because there might be something else that's underlying there that is pushing your partner to want to try an open relationship because maybe they don't see another way out or an alternative or a way to fix the thing that they are struggling with. So by listening to them with intent and hearing what they have to say, you guys might be able to get to the bottom of some of these issues if that's really what it's rooted in, right? The other thing here is going to be support and guidance. Seeking support from friends, family, a coach like myself, a therapist, to help you navigate these feelings will make the decision-making process a lot easier, right? A neutral third party can provide valuable perspective and guidance as you kind of navigate these really weird and challenging times, this weird situation that maybe you were not ready for, right? The key word here, though, is neutral. So ensure that whoever you speak to is able to view your situation objectively. Some friends or family can be very protective, and what that ends up doing is causing a lot more confusion and difficulty for you down the road. The fifth thing here is consider an amicable separation, right? If you decide that you are not able to reconcile your different desires, and you're not able to talk through the topic of open relationship, and you are very set on remaining in a monogamous relationship, and your partner is very set on being in an open relationship, I think that we can safely say that the relationship has grown in different directions, and it's probably time to part ways. And again, I know that's easier said than done, but unfortunately, I feel like that is the solution or the answer here. Try to approach the breakup with compassion and respect for each other's feelings, right? Try your best to focus on finding mutually agreeable solutions that prioritize both you and your partner's well-being. Be honest and transparent about your reasons for ending the relationship, while also expressing gratitude for the time you experienced and shared together. Again, I know that this is easier said than done, but it is so important that you do your best not to destroy each other in the process. I hope you guys found this information to be helpful. I hope that if you are currently navigating the treacherous waters of open relationships and how to make it work, that you're able to take some of this information and apply it to your situation. If you can't, if you're still confused, if you have questions, as always, please make sure you reach out to me. I will provide all my information in the description of the episode down below. And again, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys are having an incredible day, night, wherever you are joining in from around the world. And I will see you in the next episode.